Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. Welcome, PR Maven Nation, to this week's episode, one of our mini episodes, a quick and informative look at media training tips for crisis communicators. The podcast is presented by Marshall Communications, creator of the 65-step Marshall Plan process. For more information, visit marshallpr.com, and on the website under PR Maven, you will also find information about my two books, PR Works and Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand. This week, I will be sharing my Forbes Agency Council article, 10 Media Training Tips for Crisis Communicators. So let's dive right in. What do you do when the media calls for an interview after a crisis? From time to time, businesses are forced to engage in crisis communications, messaging to the masses during turbulent times. You may just want to say, no comment, but that's the worst thing to say after a crisis. It immediately implies guilt and will hurt your reputation in the court of public opinion. Perhaps your business is going through a product recall, or you're dealing with an environmental issue. The 2010 BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill is just one infamous example of corporate turbulence. The parties involved likely had to rapidly develop a viable public relations plan at a time when 4 million barrels worth of oil was flowing into the Gulf of Mexico. But you can't just wait until a crisis strikes to be ready to communicate. It's critical to prepare a crisis communications plan months and even years in advance, proactively mapping out how to respond if and when the ship starts rocking. The best reaction comes from planning your actions in advance and listing specific steps that you will take to respond. That's how you weather a storm. You don't just act in the middle of one, but before. At the heart of crisis communications, namely the planning process, is media training, which means preparing yourself to respond to media inquiries when the time comes. When the media calls, you cannot be caught off guard. Number one, never say no comment and always tell the truth. Issuing a non-response comes across as a deflection, like you have something to hide. Similarly, lying will always get you in trouble. Journalists are in the business of exposing lies, which makes crises even worse. Tell the truth, even if it isn't necessarily the full truth. 2, establish a crisis communications team and invest in media training. Again, this should happen well in advance. Return on investment. Communicating effectively during a crisis stems from preparation. There is no substitute for proper preparedness. Number 3, create a message map and don't forget the front lines. Identify your key talking points and stick to them. Let's say you're conducting an internal investigation or doing due diligence. Whatever your core message is, don't deviate from it. Repeat it so journalists get the memo and the general public will too. Number 4, have empathy, but keep it brief. It is important to show compassion. For example, if your business just went through a round of layoffs, which is common today, don't forget to express sympathy to the employees who are affected. Personalize your talking points, but don't spend too much time on feelings either. Remember to pivot back to the message map. Number 5, anticipate difficult questions and don't feel pressured to respond immediately. Journalists will ask tough questions. That's what they do. So expect them to come. But you can take your time to think through the best response and answer appropriately. A response doesn't need to be instantaneous, so use your time to strategize. Number 6, control your anger and don't reinforce negative terms. Let's face it, a crisis can be overwhelming, causing negative emotions to reach a boiling point. Don't let them. It's important to stay calm, cool, and collected. Patience, patience, patience. As for not reinforcing negative terms, instead of saying, "We did not lie," if you're accused of doing so, say, "We always tell the truth." Remember, there is no off the record. And don't rely solely on the media. Just assume that all of your answers to media questions are on the record and could be used publicly. It's safer to keep your guard up. But at the same time, don't focus exclusively on the media to tell your story. There are other channels, so consider alternative approaches, such as an internal memo or face-to-face meetings with employees. Number 8, choose your location and beware of smartphones. These days, unsavory moments are captured by phones on a daily basis. Tackle your crisis communications accordingly, assuming that everything could be photographed or filmed. With that in mind, try to position yourself in the best possible light. Choose physical locations that can convey a positive message. A conference room, for instance, conveys professionalism. Number 9, present yourself accordingly. In addition to picking the right location, it's important to look the part. Dress up, comb your hair, use makeup if needed. Appearing disheveled is a red flag, not only to journalists, but also to the general public. Staying cool, calm, and collected means coming across that way physically. So be presentable. Number 10, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. You can never practice enough as a crisis communicator. Media training doesn't work if you don't hone your talking points through repetition. Make sure that you know your message like the back of your hand. There. Now you're prepared for the next crisis. Hopefully it never comes, but preparation wins the day, both in good times and bad. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to get a free PR Maven Things to Do Today pad by visiting prmaven.com/giveaway. Fill out the form and submit your mailing address so we can send you a to-do pad in the mail. Now here are Lori Doobie and Tyler Gaudette to share how my book, Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, has helped Sprague & Curtis Real Estate.
Sprague & Curtis is a locally owned real estate company. We're primarily focused in central Maine. I got excited about Nancy's book because she's so well known in the area for her marketing and branding techniques, and we're always looking to expand and learn and grow, and so a lot of us here at the office decided that we wanted to read her book and learn some new techniques.
It benefits Sprague & Curtis to have a large brand and audience because there can often be multiple years between transactions with clients, so it's important to network with them and stay in touch with them in those in-between periods. And this book really helped us learn some techniques and methods to continue to do that. We organized a small book group with Nancy's book with brokers in our office this winter to share information and remind ourselves how important it is to always be working on our network and continually reaching out to our customers.
Platforms like social media are important in expanding your business, but equally as important are handwritten notes, cards, letters. She inspired me to send her a note of appreciation, just thanking her for the book and her insight. In reading Nancy's book, I was excited to look to continue to grow our brand and our audience. I think she does a great job of motivating us.
Nancy's book really helped me learn a few things in marketing and branding and how important it is to stay on top of reaching out to clients periodically, staying top of mind, providing useful information, and really telling our story as a company.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. I invite you to share a review of the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you use an Alexa device, use your Alexa app to search the Skills and Games section to find and enable the PR Maven Podcast Flash Briefing. This will give you access to exclusive content and more PR and marketing advice. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.